Sometimes the thing is, if you want to start your delivery business and you want to use a sprinter van, you don't have to buy the sprinter van. Sometimes you can just lease it. Okay. So in today's conversation, what I want to explain to you, I want to explain to you how to lease a sprinter van for your delivery using EIN only. And the thing is, you want to get a large amount and fast approval. Okay. So this is really important. So, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Okay, so to reach your goal, here are the steps I want you to follow. Let's first talk about legitimacy. So the thing is, you want to start. Everything you need to understand here is that everything starts with legitimizing your business. So if you want to lease a sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN, you got to have a legit business, boss. Okay, so we're talking about you choosing the right business structure. This is really important. So what you need to business structure means what? LLC, ALP, partnership, okay, corporation. So S corporation, C corporation. But you can also be a sole proprietorship, but we do not advise you to have to be a sole proprietorship because you're trying to divorce your personal affairs from your business affairs. So please incorporate, boss. Please, you want to set a legal, you want to have the right proper structure for your business. Have a business, and you want to get a business address. And by the way, you don't want to choose your house. Even if you operate from home, it's better to have a virtual hosting service. So basically, you have a virtual mailbox, so everything is directed to a third party. Okay, so they will handle your mail for you. You want to register a business name. Okay, choose a business name. You want to sign up for a tax ID number. So this is the EIN, the other name for EIN. So you need to have an employer identification number, and you want to apply for business licenses and permits. This is really important. Why? Because what you're trying to do here is you're trying to establish the fulcrum, the regulatory fulcrum, the regulatory foundation for your sprinter van delivery business. Okay, and this will help you actually create credibility, increase credibility when you start negotiating with the potential leasing company for you to get your sprinter van, and also open a business bank account. Yeah. I mean, if you want to further legitimize your business, make sure you have a business bank account so that you can actually pay the leasing. You can make the leasing payments every month from. Okay, and also get business insurance. I mean, we are talking here about a sprinter van delivery business, and we know how important business insurance is. So please make sure that you actually have taken care of all those elements so that you can you can have a strong foundation for your delivery business, and this will help you a lot. I want to talk to you now about the leasing needs. Okay. By the way, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. What are we talking about? We're talking about how to lease a sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN only, a large amount, fast amount, okay, and fast approval. So you need to study your leasing needs. The thing here is that you probably sitting there and say, okay, should I lease a sprinter van or buy one? It's really important to understand that there are a lot of advantages when it comes to taxes, when it comes to your accounting, when it comes to your profitability, your revenue generation process that will make you decide to actually get a lease, to actually lease or buy a sprinter van. So it's important to understand that there are some very, very good tax advantages that come into play. So you don't need to outlay large amounts of money upfront. You have low monthly payments. Lease payments are tax deductible. You can stay up to date with the latest models in technology. Plus, newer sprinter van vehicles mean better. Newer sprinter vans means better fuel economy. You have short and long-term agreements. You only pay for a sprinter van when you need one. No maintenance cost. And when the contract period comes to an end, you don't need to worry about depreciation or selling the vehicle. Okay, so it's really important. Now, let me just share with you a few lease terms you need to know when thinking about a sprinter van. See, the thing is, when you have a conversation with the leasing company, they'll be throwing a few words here and there that you need to have a clear idea about. Because if you want to lease a sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN, remember this is ideally a long-term lease or a short-term lease for that matter. But it's really important to go into the conversation well equipped. You want to go into a conversation intellectually well equipped. Okay, so you'll hear things like open end versus closed end lease. What are we talking about? So when you sit down to negotiate, let's say a lease for a sprinter van delivery business, okay, you will probably be offered two options: an open end lease and a closed end lease. So in an open end lease contract, the lessee, in other words you, pays the difference between the residual value, the estimated resale value, and the actual resale value at the end of the lease. In contrast, at the end of a closed-end lease, The lessee, again, this is you, pays only extra mileage and extraordinary damages. Okay, so those are things I want you to think about. So you have to think about the residual value, the term length, okay, and also the estimated annual mileage. That's very important. The leasing company will pay attention to that. So please be careful here. I want to talk to you about familiarity, boss. See, the thing is, if you want to lease a sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN only, you need to familiarize yourself with sprinter vans in general, okay? So when we talk about sprinter vans, people talk about sprinter vans, but they don't know that there are actually 4 vehicles in Mercedes lineup, okay? So when we talk about sprinter vans in general, we're speaking about cargo vans, we're speaking about crew vans, we're speaking about passenger vans, and we are actually talking about vans that have a cab, a chassis. Okay, so but in today's conversation, we're basically talking about cargo vans because I mean, crew vans and passenger vans or other types of vans that are not really may not be suitable for a regular delivery business. Like if you have a passenger van, you don't have a lot of cargo space to actually haul loads. Okay, but it's really important to understand that when we talk about familiarizing yourself with sprinter vans in general, you have to be clear about the model and year that you want to lease, right? I mean, normally if you go to a leasing company, you're probably getting the latest models. But again, in some cases, you might actually have to lease models that are a little older. It depends on the leasing company, okay? It also depends on your budget, okay? But overall, one thing I want to say here is that the Mercedes Sprinter is a very comfortable workhorse that offers a splash of G-Wagon capability. In other words, we're talking about a lot of cargo space. We're talking about technological advance. We're talking about basically a car, another car, a van that allows you to attend to your most important delivery business opportunities. Okay, and so the van has a lot of things. I mean, it's better in some cases than the Ford Transit and the Ram ProMaster, and so the Sprinter is sold with 3 4-cylinder engine options, 2 turbo diesels and 1 turbocharged gas engine, okay, each working through a 9-speed automatic transmission. 9-speed, boss. Okay, so that transmission and the van's optional 4-matic all-wheel drive system are similar to those found in Mercedes-Benz passenger cars like the E-Class and the S550. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say here is that before you lease your next EIN only Sprinter van, make sure that you familiar yourself with the van that you want in terms of engine, transmission performance, in terms of towing and payload capacity, fuel economy, and interior comfort and cargo. All those things are really important. Next thing I want you to do, boss, is to actually get into the whole comparison thing. You want to compare leasing agencies. I mean, this is important because, I mean, you probably, I mean, depending on where you live, though, when we talk about comparison, you have to think about geography. So are you in a metropolis? Are you in a are you in a rural area? Are you in a township? And where is the next leasing company? Because the thing is, you can't just compare leasing companies via websites. You have to visit the actual leasing company you are contemplating doing business with. Okay, you got to go there. Okay, and so you need to plan time. You need to think about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 leasing companies, leasing agencies in your area, and go in there. And you want to sit down with the rep. You want to sit down with the leasing agency rep. You want to ask all kinds of questions, and you are just basically gathering data. You are basically gathering intel to know exactly if they have the specific Sprinter van for your delivery business that you need, especially with EIN only. Make sure that you ask that question. Do you do EIN only? Can you accommodate the EIN only portion of things? I mean, what is EIN only? It just means that they're not asking for a personal guarantee. So something were to happen, your personal affairs or your personal assets are not endangered, right? You want to push everything onto your Sprinter van delivery business. So how do you actually compare lease agreements? You want to look for upfront payments required, the van cost used to calculate the lease. So things like lease and fees, including any excess miles charges incurred, mileage allowance, purchase options at the end of the contract. So those are really important. Okay. And you need to understand there are many leasing companies on the market, and how to choose the best one that suits you. It really depends on a lot of things. And what I want to say here is that if you have any question, please send us. You want to put them in the questions in the comment section below. Why? Because leasing has to do with geography. So for us to actually give you better guidance, we need to know where you are currently at, the state, the location, the city where you are currently at, so we can actually pinpoint the specific leasing agencies in your area. Okay. And also don't forget things about the cancellation policy. What is the cancellation policy? Okay. You also want to think about the accessible service centers. Okay. It happens. Sprinter vans as well as all vehicles can break down. So before signing a lease agreement, you want to determine how quickly the carrier can address the problem and where the service centers are located. Okay, so those are questions I want you to ask when you talk to the leasing agency. Let's talk about the business impact. So the thing is, if you want to lease a Sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN, you need to know how leasing impacts your van business in general. Okay. So when we talk about leasing your Sprinter van in general, it does have some financial advantages. Okay. And I know I spoke briefly about those advantages, but now I want to really go a little granular here. And so it has some financial advantages, but you also have some admin advantages. So you have some administrative advantages. Okay. So when it comes to financial advantages, you have to understand there is no cash outlay or down payments. You actually free up funds for profit-making investments. You keep credit lines open for growing your Sprinter van company. Okay, and you have vehicle financing covered 100%. You have budgetable expense, predictable monthly cash flow. So you're only paying for the portion of the vehicle that's used. Okay, you have availability of multiple financing sources. You have flexible financing options and terms. You have annual credit reviews, no need to analyze for each individual order. You have deferment of expenditures over the term of the lease. Vehicles are obtained at wholesale prices. You have lower costs through the lessor's volume purchasing power, and you own what appreciates. You want to lease what depreciates. So the bottom line here is what? The bottom line is you are trying to actually have a proper business structure for the future. So you want to take advantage of all those financial advantages. In terms of the administrative perks, you have no separate purchasing and selling is necessary. One source supply for the vehicles, maintenance and sale. You have a full range of lease vehicles and terms. Any make, model, or vehicle type available. You have expertise in vehicle selection and replacement timing. You have a wide variety of nationwide remarketing options, and the lessor handles record keeping and administrative functions like accounting, license, title and insurance compliance, federal, state, and local tax administration, availability of other lessors services. Okay, so bottom line is you are in good hands. Okay, you are in good hands, and it's really important to understand that you can deduct business lease costs. Okay, you can deduct driving costs also. So you have a constellation of financial and tax related advantages when it comes to leasing a Sprinter van for your delivery business. I want to talk to your boss now about the leasing budget. You need to set your leasing budget. So if you want to lease a Sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN, you got to have a clear idea about your budget first, because the budget is going to impact your cash inflows and cash outflows, and only you know where you're currently at in terms of your finances, in terms of your Sprinter van finances. Okay, where are you, boss? Where are you? Are you chilling? Are you making bank? Or are you struggling right now? So those are like the conclusion, the answer to that question will determine what kind of leasing budget you have. And when we talk about the leasing budget, there are a few things that actually impact your budget. Okay, the type of Sprinter van that you want. So you want to consider the type, size, and age of the Sprinter van you are looking at leasing. An older vehicle will require more maintenance, and if your goal at the end of the lease is to purchase the Sprinter van, you don't want to be stuck with one that is very difficult to maintain and upgrade. Okay, you want to think about insurance. So collision coverage is usually required by leasing companies. Insurance will cover you for damage incurred as a result of a collision by another object or a vehicle. You want to think about mileage. So in your contract, you will agree upon an estimated number of miles you will expect to travel in your day-to-day operations. Okay, make sure you allow for special events or other non-work related travel. So you may be required to pay additional fees for extra mileage incurred. Think about the wear and tear. So the damage policy in the contract will state what normal wear and tear of the vehicle is expected and what may be considered damage. Unacceptable damage may include damage to the structural integrity of the Sprinter van, excessive scrapes for the to the paintwork, tears in the seats, or dents in the bodywork. Okay, think about maintenance. So maintenance can be one of the most expensive aspects of vehicle ownership. But however, when leasing a Sprinter van, you don't need to be concerned about upkeep. Okay, so this is kind of cool. We love that a lot. So the lessor will take care of things like scheduled preventive and non-scheduled maintenance service, parts and labor, oil and lubricants, and tires also. Okay, and the good thing again, I want to mention the fact that you can deduct business driving expenses as part of your regular accounting. This is really good. So this is something you should really take advantage of. But the bottom line here is that it's leasing a Sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN only is not only possible, it's also potentially profitable to your business. The last part of this conversation is the lease agreement. You need to finalize the lease agreement. So this is where you basically sign the deal. Like, you apply with your EIN, you go to the leasing company, you actually sit down with the rep, you actually go through the paperwork. You're comfortable in terms of the budgets, you're comfortable in terms of the Sprinter van, the year, the model that you want to buy, you want to lease. You are comfortable about all the conditions in terms of maintenance. You're comfortable about everything. So it's really important to actually to go and finalize things. Okay. And so don't forget to, there's an important element we have seen in our research for the last 20 years, that we have seen that leasing mileage cap is really important. Signing a lease binds you contractually to stay within an established mileage limit. That limit, or mileage cap, is averaged over the number of years in the agreement. So basically, depending on the lease, agreements range from 10,000 miles per year to as many as 15,000 miles per year. So whatever the limits, the leasing company will penalize you for every mile above the limit. So generally, the penalty can be between 12 cents to 30 cents per excess mile. At 30 cents, that works out to $300 for every 1,000 miles over the limit. So this can add up. So be sure you know how many miles you drive and what the per mile penalty is before you sign the lease. Okay. And so you also have to think about, the manufacturer and lease it. When you lease it, when you actually lease a Sprinter van, you must also pay for the money you borrow, right? What you pay is called interest, displayed as a percentage, 3%, 4.5%, and so forth. You need to know the rate of interest you'll be paying. So the higher the interest rate, the higher your monthly payment. Okay. And when you lease, you must also pay for the money the lessor used to buy the car. In leasing, however, the interest is called the money factor. It is actually calculated and displayed differently. Okay, so it's important to understand that. And you can also negotiate the price of a leased car. So at the end of the lease term, for example, you can actually have a conversation about the car that you want to buy. You can buy that. And by the way, you can also reduce the monthly lease payments. So you can reduce the capital cost by negotiating a lower vehicle purchase price. You can ask for a lower money factor. So if your credit score is more than 750, go for a lower rate. You can put additional money down, or if there is a trade-in, negotiate for a higher trade-in value and shop other dealers for a better deal. So it's all about negotiating, doing research. Okay. So what are the negotiating points in the lease here? We're talking about the Sprinter van purchase price. This is framed as the capital cost, the down payment, the trade-in value, the money factor, and the disposition fee. So those are things I really want you to pay attention to if you are trying to lease a Sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN only. And there are certain things you cannot negotiate in a lease. So residual value is generally set in stone. You can give it a try, but don't expect much. The acquisition fee. This is a charge that lessors, leasing agencies, rarely budge on. So be very clear on those things before you actually before you try to lease a Sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN only. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to lease a Sprinter van for your delivery business with EIN only. So here are the steps I want you to follow. So think about legitimacy. Think about your leasing needs. Think about familiarity. Think about comparison in terms of the leasing agencies. Think about the business impact. Think about the leasing budget. Think about the lease agreement. Those are really, really important things that will help you get the best deal ever. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.